Okay, so yes, I usually just do a bit of an introduction. So I'm just going to say what's up from my side for my podcast. And then if you want to introduce yours as well, you're more than welcome, bro. So yeah, so this is episode number 6 of the Work with What You Got podcast. And it's interesting because my guest here for my podcast is Reed, and he also has his own podcast, which he is wanting to put this up on for his podcast as well. So it's a two-way podcast today in some senses. So yeah, welcome, Reed. Thank you for joining me on my podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. It
Cool,
is
man.
an insane honor to be here.
Cool. Yeah. What is the name of your podcast, man? If I may ask.
Uh, it's called Reed's Limited Knowledge.
Reed's Limited Knowledge.
Yeah,
Okay, okay. And what's
yeah.
like the story behind it?
Honestly, it's mostly the same stuff as my YouTube.
Mm.
But sometimes if I do audio only stuff, I'll put it there. It's kind of like it's just whatever's on my mind or whatever I'm struggling with that I think might help other people. I usually put it there too.
Okay, okay. And that's
Yeah.
funny. That's the reason why I originally liked your content because I got to you just before you blew up. You were on like 2,000 followers, and then I messaged you and I was like, "Hey man, I really like what you're doing. I like where you're going." And then like within the next day, I saw you on like 20K, and I was like, "What?" And now you're on like 44. I don't know if you're on more now, at least on Instagram. Um,
Uh,
yeah, and that was the reason I was drawn to you is because I just felt like you were very authentic in what you were bringing forward. You're just doing everyday activities and you're just talking about your own experiences, which is super cool. And I think it's very like I use the word connectable. It's very like human. People can relate to what you're sharing and what you're talking about. And yeah, that's why I really appreciate what you're doing. It's just that you have that authentic vibe about you, man. So yeah.
Thank you so much, Devin. That's like incredibly nice. I
Yeah,
hope I can
yeah.
live up to that introduction. That's insane.
Yeah, well, I mean that's well, I guess it's part of the questions I have. But yeah, I mean that's I guess that's what your content is about in a sense, right? I mean, you can
Yeah,
tell us a little
absolutely.
bit like tell us a little bit about what your content is about and like your process behind your content.
Mhm. Okay. Well, I would say that the main goal is like I think I think I just want to document whatever journeys I take. Whether that's for an audience now or honestly just for like my 80-year-old self to look back at and enjoy the time when I was 20.
Sure.
Um, either one of those works. If people like it, by all means, that's awesome. And I mean, I am absolutely doing it to build a following, but I would say that the main goal is just to build or to document the whole process and show that like anything is possible. Because I believe that I just need to prove it to myself, and you know, documenting it never hurts, I would say.
Mm.
And then process. I mean, so I've been posting for about 9 months now, every time or multiple times a day on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. Um, and honestly, my first 300 videos or 400 videos or I guess 300 videos were pretty rough, which is fine because, it's like you just got to go out and start. Um, and so I don't know, the process has been 100% just like be reckless and learn from your wreckage.
Mm.
And it's worked.
It's
So
working. Yeah, I mean, clearly it is working. But
at least a
also,
little bit.
but also, it's like the mood with which you're doing it is, I think that's also what sets the tone, in my opinion. I mean, I'm not trying to analyze it too much, but I'm just from what I've seen and what I observed from your content is that the mood is definitely there. It's like you have, I would say, a sense of innocence about what you're doing. You're just being yourself and I've seen a few of your videos. The one you were talking about, you went on a date or something like that, and then something happened. You're like, you should think about this when you go out, or remember this. And I
uh,
was like, that's great, man. Because it's relatable to everyday people, it's relatable to especially men, we go on, I mean, not just men, but we go on dates and then a lot of men have the same experiences, but no one's talking about it, no one's really sharing it from like a unqualified perspective where it's just this was my experience and this is what I learned from it, and other men can be like, damn bro, I had a similar one. you know
uh,
and I relate
Yeah,
to that.
absolutely.
Yeah, and yeah, maybe that's not connectable isn't the word, but your content is relatable. Yes, it's very,
Relatable, yeah, that's awesome. Well, I mean, connectable definitely makes sense, but yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. Thank you, Devin. That's a huge compliment.
yeah, that's
Um,
cool, man.
I will say it definitely used to be less. I was more like in the past, I was more trying to and I mean I've literally made videos about this, but like in the past I was more trying to be someone I wasn't, and
Mm,
I was kind of trying to talk about who I thought I wanted to be, but I realized like the if I were to blow up, the person I would want to be blown up as is like me. I don't want to be blown up as someone who I'm trying to
someone
be,
else,
you
yeah,
know?
because I mean, how are you going to maintain being someone you're not, you know? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, for a long period of time. Like I guess if you want to get views today, maybe it's not a bad idea, but if you're trying to build like a 20-year brand, probably a bad idea, you know?
Yeah, and that's the thing I noticed. I mean, coming from, I mean, just what I do on my social media account is that I see a lot of men in today's day and age trying to be someone they're not. You know, like I get the point of having role models and then, you know, trying to sort of take inspiration from role models and then you sort of become like them because you focused on what they're doing and you see how they're doing things and then in some sense you imbibe their methods and how they do things. And at the same time, I also see that I think a lot of people get caught in that and they forget to be themselves. So they're just trying to live up to a standard which is not them. It's a very inauthentic space. And then that's where they're, you know, moving from. And it's not very relatable because they've jumped like a whole bunch of steps and they've forgotten who they are, which is what makes you relatable. When
Mhm.
you're yourself, even if you're trying to be better, and you're still connected to who you are authentically, then you know it really makes that difference and it makes you relatable. You know, no one wants to. I mean, it's nice to connect to people who are doing better than you, but it can also become very superficial. You know, and yeah, it's unrelatable. At the
I
end of
agree.
the day.
No,
Yeah.
I totally. I mean, I've lived that, so like, I don't think I could have put it better.
What was the read? Who were you trying to be in the beginning? Like, what was that?
Um, hmm. I definitely got a lot of. I mean, I still get a lot of inspiration from like Alex Hormozy.
Oh yeah, sure.
Um,
Okay.
I mean, but who doesn't? But
Yeah, yeah.
um,
He is very inspiring. Yeah, yeah, sure.
yeah, he's such a fucking savage. But I definitely. I mean, I tried to make content with his like level of conviction and expertise, but I just don't like have that in many things. I would say I don't have it in anything. Like at 20 years old, it's very hard to be doing something for 11 years straight,
Mm, mm,
you know? Um, and yeah, I don't know. I would say definitely a lot of it was influenced by him, which I do think he's an excellent influence for most people. I think there are a lot of worse choices out there, but I mean, ultimately the best choice is you know?
So you were trying to be the Reed version of Alex.
Yeah. And yeah, absolutely. It actually reminds me of a, like, I guess quote. I don't know who says it. I've just heard it before, but don't be a second-rate version of anyone else. Be a first-rate version of yourself.
Yeah.
And it's insane because literally the second I started doing that, like in 8 days, I went from 600 followers to 50K.
Super.
So like
Damn, man.
it works.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's really great. There,
Yeah,
there,
definitely a change worth making.
there's
Go for it.
a quote in a book that I like to read. It's called the Bhagavad Gita, and it says that you should rather do your duty, even though imperfectly, than trying to be like someone else and do it perfectly. Because if you're doing someone else's, like if you're trying to be like someone else, even if you're doing it perfectly, it's just you're just copying. You're like a copycat, you know?
Mhm.
I mean, there's nothing new under the sun, right? Like every idea has sort of been done already. Like there's no ways that I can do anything super original or anybody can do something like super original. They're like very few and far between that people get super original ideas, but mainly
Mhm.
everything is done under the sun. So we can only just do it from our perspective, which is what makes it sort of like unique at the end of the day, you know? You can just
Mhm.
share your unique experience in the same realm as everybody else. And, you know, Yeah, that's what gives it that the uniqueness. It's just it's coming through you and it's coming through me because we have a different you have a different upbringing, you know, you have different experiences as you grow up, and different sets of parents which will teach you different ways of being, and you know, and yours are different. So we just have two unique perspectives even on the same issue, you know, or the same struggles in life and so on and so forth, which is actually one of my first, or it was going to be one of my first questions. But like, can you give us a little bit of background as to like who you are, man? Like, where have you come from up into, yeah, where have you come from to this point in your life? Being you're 20 years older.
Mhm.
Yeah. So where did you come from? Just a short little background story to now.
Absolutely. Let's see. So I'm gonna start with well, yeah, I'll start with work. My first job was, or I guess I grew up in a small town in California, Northern California. Um, and my first job was at my parents' ice cream parlor. Also my only job.
Your
Um,
parents, are you still there now?
no, I
Oh,
quit a few months ago.
oh,
Um,
okay. Social media
my
has helped.
yeah, yeah. Um, I worked there since I was 9. Uh, that was when I first started working. It was just my mom's store, and she's excellent at making ice cream. So there's a lot of learning in that, and just what goes into actually like making a business that people want to buy from. Um, and then I worked there until I was 19. All through high school. That's a tough question to answer. I don't know what the big moments are. I think say through high school I was like kind of like type A, didn't really do well in school, didn't really care. I was like my whole mentality was like I'm just gonna go to the junior college near me because it's like a pretty good school, and I was like, oh, whatever.
Hmm.
Pretty nonchalant with all of it. Um, yeah, and then I guess I graduated and I actually went to culinary school at the junior college, and I like had a full breakdown on the first day, and I like freaked the fuck out. Oh,
Um,
sorry, can I swear?
yeah, go for
Okay, okay.
it.
Um,
Yeah, sure.
yeah, I just I absolutely lost my shit, and I ended up going like 4 hours late to the first class. It was like an 8 hour, 2 day a week class.
Wow.
Um, and I did that semester, and then I kind of realized that I wasn't really learning anything because I have a pretty like big background in culinary already. And it didn't seem like I was going to learn anything, so I quit that route and then went to business school. And then I dropped out of that because I was like, I'm probably going to learn more just being in a business. It was like the classic, like I looked at the professors and I'm like, none of these people have businesses. What the fuck are they going to teach me?
Hmm.
Um, and that might be cocky, but it's also, I mean,
Yeah, you're
my
just
experience.
calling it out. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. And then last semester, which was the last semester I went on, I did a semester abroad in Barcelona, which is pretty fire. It was all around pretty dope. I traveled a bunch, and thankfully I had savings because I've been working for such a long time. Um, and just got back, dropped out, and now we're moving to LA, and that is present day.
Cool, man. Cool. Okay. And so culinary school must have been interesting. I mean, I'm also a chef, so I was a head chef
Mhm.
in a restaurant for about 4 years, and
Uh-huh.
it's hard work, man.
Yeah,
Cooking in
yeah, it
a
really
restaurant
is.
is super hard, man. Like, woo. People used to tell me, you know, before I got seriously into it, like, hey man, it's gonna be a lot of work. And I was like, it's okay, you know. And then I got into it and I was like, damn, it's way
Yeah.
harder than I expected, you know. It's a lot of physical work, like cooking for like hours on end. I used to cook for like between 5 to 6 hours on end, and man, it's like it's no joke. I
Yeah,
started,
no, it is really serious.
you know what
Uh-huh.
varicose veins are?
I do not.
Varicose veins are like when you get like veins in your legs that stick out.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So I started getting those from standing for so long. And then I had
Wow.
to like counteract that with little like stretching exercises and stuff because
Uh-huh.
it got bad, man. I had like I got ugly. My legs looked ugly. And I was like, nah, this is not cool, man. I have to get this away, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh my, yeah, the cooking is being a professional chef is an incredibly hard job.
Yeah. Did you ever
Um,
do it? Like, did you ever go into like a restaurant and you went into it like for a while?
No, I didn't. I didn't. I probably would have if I stayed in culinary school. I'm sure I at least would have done internships.
Okay.
But no, no. The only restaurant I've worked in is the ice cream shop, which is arguably not a restaurant. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I mean, unless you were making the ice cream.
we did. We made everything,
You really?
literally
Oh
every
wow.
single thing there. Yeah, down
Okay.
to each strawberry we processed. Like we would take the
Really?
top off and then go through the
Wow.
process with it. Yeah.
Okay. And like what was the process of making the ice cream? Because I actually have an ice cream recipe where you don't need condensed milk. Yeah, it's like you can make it at home on your stove and it's got like a few ingredients and boom, it makes really legit ice cream. I made it a few
Mhm,
times and it's really dope. What was the
mhm.
recipe for you?
So ice cream is basically frozen creme anglaise, which is just like loose custard. So like very watery custard. So literally just milk, egg, sugar, and that's pretty much all you need for creme anglaise. You can add in, well, no, actually, yeah, it's literally just milk, eggs, and sugar. Um, and you basically bring it up to a steamy heat. You don't want it boiling, otherwise you curdle the eggs and you burn the milk. But you bring it up and hold it at the steam for a while, just until it thickens a tiny bit. And then you freeze it. And this is where you need the equipment, because if you freeze ice cream in your home freezer, it'll be okay, but it will be very icy.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
and you also need to freeze it as you like churn it, which is why they have the ice cream churners, which is another piece of equipment you need. But after you're done churning it, because it gets kind of whipped up and it gets pretty frozen that way, you need to put it in a freezer that's like -30 or -40 degrees Fahrenheit. And that's, what is that like? Oh, that's about -40 Celsius. Um, that's where they meet. And and that's when it, like, if you do it that way, it won't get icy. Otherwise, it doesn't freeze fast enough, and it gets like little ice crystals in the ice cream. Um,
I'm not gonna
so
lie, bro. You should totally start sharing some recipes on your content. Just
I
talk
don't
about
know.
it while you're like doing your laundry. Hey guys, you want to know how to make some ice cream? Just to drop in something different every now and again, yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, it is absolutely, food is a huge part of who I am. So
Yeah, okay.
definitely
So
it'll
so
be a
like
part of it for
if you
sure.
if you had to make a recipe or like a dish, what is like your go-to, what is your favorite thing to go to make? Yeah.
Uh, hmm. Easiest and honestly probably like favorite to make, just because it's so fucking easy, is like Swedish pancakes. It's literally just,
Swedish pancakes. Sounds fancy, man.
yeah, it's literally eggs, flour, and milk, and it's equal parts of all of them.
Eggs.
And then that's like,
Okay.
that's the entire recipe. It's literally as simple as it gets, and it's good every single time.
All right. Okay.
Uh, yeah, that is probably my favorite. But like, if I want to make something good, I would either do Korean fried chicken. Um, Big fried chicken guy, even though, not great macros, but still delicious. Or probably Korean short ribs, the like Kalbi sliced, like the beef short ribs. Those are fucking excellent. But
All right.
those take significantly more effort than lazy ass Swedish pancakes. So
So
yeah.
so I'm a vegan, well, not vegan, but
Mhm,
I lean more to veganism because I was a vegetarian for a long time, but I'm actually lactose intolerant. So the cool
mhm,
thing is about recipes, in my opinion, and from just my background with cooking, is that you can take any sort of recipe and just adjust it, you know?
mhm,
So I've taken so many meat recipes out there and I've just adjusted it completely and added in meat replacements like soy chunks or like eggs you can replace with like yogurt or whatever like powder, you know. So it's cool
mhm,
that um you don't have to miss out. I found that a lot of people are scared to turn like vegan or vegetarian because they're like, what am I gonna cook? I just have to cook vegetables. What am I gonna do? Just steam
mhm,
them. And I was like, I used to think like that as well. I really legitimately thought like that. And that's what made it hard for me to transition. But once I started to see the possibilities and like the different flavors that you can get through spices and so on and so forth, and the different methods that you can cook all your different vegetables, it's like, yeah, for me, it's like I don't see the point in eating meat, you know, if just from my
uh-huh,
personal experience. Like
yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
I don't need to, you know? And a lot of people think that the meat is like the main source of their diet. And I used to think like that as well. And then when I started switching over, I started researching what like vitamins and minerals I needed. And I realized I wasn't even getting all of that stuff while eating meat. So
Uh,
I was just in this mindset that, meat was giving me everything I needed, or pretty much everything I needed. And then I started researching it, and then I realized I wasn't even getting it, just from eating meat.
mhm.
There was so much more I needed to be eating, and different varieties and stuff to actually give my body what it needed, which was just an interesting moment for me. I was like, bing, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it was
Yeah, I don't
interesting.
know. I do. I would say, let's see. I think honestly, I just like it.
Hmm.
Um, is the main reason, and it's sometimes cheaper if you get like chicken. It's not cheaper
Sure.
if you get not chicken, but it's cheaper if you get chicken. Which is the other main reason, because as a 20-year-old kid dropping out of college, I feel like every dollar I have is pretty pretty valuable right now.
You dropped out of college.
Yeah.
Okay, why?
Um, in high school, I fell asleep in pretty much every single class every day.
Oh, heck, no.
Uh, and then I kept doing that in college.
Sure.
So I was like, I don't, I actually didn't even see that there was a point for me to be there. I mean, yeah, I don't know. And it's not that I can't focus, because like I'll literally wake up and I'll make videos for like 14 straight hours. So it's not really a focus thing, but I think it was just so, I don't know if it was boring or like I just didn't care,
Hmm.
but it was like so bland, and just like it felt useless. Like, hmm, I think I've used the video class that I learned in school. I've used that, and I think that's it. Maybe a little bit of math,
Hmm.
but like nothing after like freshman math, if I'm being honest.
So what was the plan in dropping out? Like, what were your ideas behind it, or did you just do it and then you were gonna figure it out as you go?
I had decided I was gonna drop out before I started making content.
Mm.
And then I started making content and then dropped out after. But I had the decision earlier, and the main reason, well, the plan, I was either going to, I've been working on this like board game. It started out as a hobby, and then I just put like so much time into it. It's kind of stupid not to finish it now. And I think it is excellent. I think it has a lot of potential.
Sure.
It was either focus on that or get a sales job,
Yeah, yeah.
and learn sales, because all like the super successful people are like, you have to learn how to sell.
Mm.
Um, and I'll probably do both eventually, but I think right now I'm focusing on the board game more until I am completely broken. Then I'll probably get the sales job.
Sure. And I mean, you could market it through your social media eventually at some point. I mean,
Yeah,
that's the beauty
yeah,
about I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, not that we should be using our following to make money, but at the end of the day, you could, if people are interested, say, hey, here's a cool
yeah,
board game,
absolutely. No, at some point that is the goal. I think I want to give free content for a really long time though.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I think my ideal is well, this is the current plan. Put
Mm.
out the board game and not really link it to my social media, but talk about like the business and what I'm learning in the business.
Mm.
Um, and then hopefully the board game will get big enough that it'll bring me to fame, because like an excellent product will probably grow faster than I will, if I'm being honest. But we'll see.
Sure.
That's the goal though.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's what I'm just getting from just talking to you, is that I see that you're not trying to, at least not immediately, trying to use your following to get anything, which is really nice. It's like unmotivated, which again is like
Mhm.
very authentic. It's not like, yeah, a lot of people are out there trying to uh I think they just have the wrong mindset. They're trying to, even though they don't have much of a following, they're trying to use their following to get something already. And they already
Mhm.
don't have the following. So it's already like it's not a very giving mindset, you know? And I think
Yeah.
that's attractive in people, in my opinion, is when someone is just in a space of giving, because then when you're giving, then it's very abundant, and people are like, wow,
Mhm.
look at this guy, he's just giving. That's really great. Let's support him because he's just giving. There's no like expectation attached to it, which is really refreshing. It's really nice to hear that. you know, even for myself, yeah, just to be more giving, but also like, in my opinion, understanding that, you know, there's smart ways to do things, you know. You can work harder and you can work smarter with things. So
Mhm.
working smarter with things helps us to use our time more wisely, so we can really put our focus into things that are high impact, if that makes sense, you know.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
like I in the beginning of my journey, I also started spending like 8 hours on one video type of thing for YouTube, and that would be writing the script, filming the video, editing the video, posting the video, marketing the video. And then I just got like so like bored. I was just like, this cannot be my social media experience. 8 hours for one video and then getting like 5 views.
Uh-huh.
I was just like, this is not worth my time. So like the process that I've gone through and changing what I'm doing and experimenting with different things has been so like all over the place to get where I am now, where
Uh-huh.
I'm just doing podcasts, editing the videos, and sharing snippets of the podcasts on my channel. Which
Yeah.
is just before I was doing this, I was actually commenting on videos and then sharing those videos, because I was sort of like riding off the back of the popularity of the other videos and then just sharing my opinion, you know, or
Mhm.
sharing my experience. And then
Yeah.
that worked for a while. I mean, there was some videos that I shared where the one blew up. I got like over 1 million views or something like that. That's
Wow.
what
Uh-huh.
shot me up. I was on like 600 followers. It shot me up to just over 4K followers. But then it sort of just
Mhm.
hit like a plateau. So it's been on the
Yeah.
plateau for a while, which is fine. Um, yeah, so it's got me to rethink what I'm doing, you know,
Mhm.
and when I started watching your content, also started to consider how authentic I was in what I was sharing, you know,
Mhm.
and you've actually inspired me a lot, so I really appreciate that. And your
Thank
content
you, Devin.
is
That's awesome.
yeah, yeah, it's really because I really like authenticity, and I found that the most connection I've made to people is when I am really authentic. It's something that
Mhm.
I feel like I'm natural at, but I also get lost in like my own inauthenticities
Yeah.
sometimes, you know, so I get lost in trying to be someone that I think I should be, that this is who I think people will like, you know. And
Mhm.
then I oftentimes have to like check myself and be like, no, I have to just remain myself, you know? And
Mhm.
that's what matters at the end of the day. Because I was watching one of your videos where you were talking about how we tend to lose a lot of friends along the way, you know, like it's
Mhm.
hard to make real friends. And I think the more authentic you become, the more you lose friends, because people don't know how to be authentic. And they're actually scared of people who are authentic because they've got so much inauthenticity within them that it's like our presence calls these people out to an extent, and they don't like it because they're so like caught up in their own little world of like uh whatever complexities, that being authentic is so simple, it's so hard to be sometimes, you know. And
Mhm.
yeah, anyway, so that's just a video I related to with what you were sharing recently, is that one where, you know, it's hard to make friends or you've lost a lot of friends. I'm not too sure. I forget exactly what the video was about, but maybe you can share.
It was that
Yeah.
topic. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay. Okay.
I'd love to. And thank you. I'm glad you liked it.
Mm,
Uh, yeah, I don't know. I think most people aren't. I think most people are very caught up in thinking what everybody else thinks about them.
mm,
Right. I think that's not a very crazy take. But something that I've told myself to really get over that is like, how much do I think about other people? Not at all. Literally not at all. Maybe like a few times a day, but it's never it's I'm not saying this to like boost my own ego. It's just like it's very rarely critical of that person.
mm.
Unless they're my hater, then I'll be like, oh, that person's a chump. But uh but you know, it's never like it's never the things that I think people are thinking about me,
Yeah.
you know?
That's
'Cause
just
I
like
think
your own narrative going on there. Like, oh, I think this about myself, so they must be thinking about me like that.
exactly, yeah, and then you realize that you're not thinking that about anyone, so why the fuck would they be thinking that about you?
About you. Yeah, yeah. And
And
if you
it's
are
like, and
thinking that about other people, then it's no wonder you're thinking that about yourself. Because oftentimes
exactly, and
the
if they're
judgment
think
we
yeah, go for it.
hold for ourselves is what we we throw onto other people, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And if they're thinking about you, like if they're the type of person to be thinking about you and thinking like wishing ill upon you or judging or whatever, fuck them. Like
Yeah, that's
who
clearly not your vibe,
actually who
man.
cares?
Yeah,
Yeah. Like I honestly can't think of a bigger waste of time than dealing with those people. Because nothing you're ever going to say is going to change their mind, and nothing you're going to say is going to hurt them worse than the things they say to themselves.
true. It's
In
sort of
my
like you have to let them wallow in their own narrative that they built for themselves. Because I was saying this in a recent podcast, is that, the good people always win in the end, ultimately, because the good people have a certain like vibration that they hold that is a lot higher than someone who's filled with negativity. So even if this negative person is they're doing a lot of things, and they're getting lots of money through manipulating people, and they're like building themselves up, ultimately that negativity that they're holding on to is going to win at the end of the day. There's no way that they're going to vibrate higher than someone who has a naturally good energy, because that good energy, good positive energy always rises, right? And negative energy, even if it may have a peak, at some point it will crash, because negative energy is very heavy. And yeah, so I'm a Reiki teacher. I don't know if you know what Reiki is, if you've ever heard of
I
it.
do not. What's Reiki?
Reiki is like energy healing. So I when I'm speaking, that's why I refer to energy.
Uh-huh.
It's because I work with people's energy a lot.
Mhm.
That's something that I teach and that I do as a profession, but also because I'm just naturally inclined towards it. And yeah, so yeah, I just thought I'd share that.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And I think that really ties back into the giving, the
Mm.
giving part we were talking about, because I think you can just, I mean, we have, this is like a Alex Hormozy frame, but we
I was
have
just
like
thinking,
thousands,
I saw that one
literally
video of his.
thousands,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Sure, yeah,
um,
sure. Anyway.
thousands and thousands of years of like lie detector built into us,
Mm.
like you can probably see through people. And like most of the time, if something's off about someone, I feel like most people have a gut feeling. I think absolutely the same is for social media and for negative people. Like that negative energy you're talking about, I think it's just like you can tell the person's either hiding something or at least a little bit malicious. And I've definitely met people who are a lot better at this than I am, and met people who are a lot worse at this than I am. But I do think everybody has it to a degree. It's like
Mm.
you can tell if somebody's full shit, just
Mm.
usually.
Mm. So you're saying you're pretty good at it, huh? Or you would
No,
think you not.
no, not at all. I've
I
met
thought that's where
significantly
you were
more
getting,
people who
like,
are
yeah, I'm
much
pretty good at
no.
seeing the bullshit in people.
No, absolutely not. I am like at very best okay at it, but I wouldn't even say that. I would say not good. Not good at all.
To me, you would seem like the type of person who would rather give someone else the benefit of the doubt. So even if you did see something negative in them, you would prefer to like overlook it and be like, I'll wait a little bit to see if this is something that will continue, or, if it will, if it is who they really are.
I think it depends. I think at this point in my life, I'm definitely more like that.
Mm.
And I think it depends what I'm looking for. If I think they have a possibility to be like a major person in my life, um, I would say I'm pretty like one and done.
Mm.
Just because I don't personally have like a huge need for a lot of people. I'd rather have like one or two really good ones,
Mm.
you know. Um, so I'd say I'm pretty low tolerance for that. But if it's just like if it's an acquaintance or it's someone who wants to reach out to me, someone who wants to do business with me, absolutely like second chances, third chances. I don't. Fourth chances is a little bit crazy, but
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't.
I have a
I
rule of
appreciate
three.
second
Yeah.
chances. So
I have a
yeah,
rule of three. Like, by the third time, I'm just like, you've done it 3 times now, man. Like,
yeah,
and I haven't said anything, but I'm just gonna do what I usually do and just move on.
uh-huh.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Because I feel like that's my time, it's my energy. I don't want to, 3 times is enough for me to like know that that's a limit for myself. There's lots more people out there that, you know, are not gonna do that, and that are gonna reciprocate on a more substantial level. So, if
mhm,
someone's doing that, then that's them. It's got nothing to do with me. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
So yeah. So I uh I guess we've already spoke about this, but I guess we can go a bit deeper. Is like, where are you heading with like your social media? What is the purpose behind it? And well, not that you have to have like a desired goal, but like where would you like your social media to go? And what content would you like to be moving into as you grow? And yeah, like have you thought about those types of things? I know that your peak has just hit like in the last 2 weeks or so. You've just hit this massive following and blah blah blah. But yeah, have you thought about where you want to go and what is the purpose behind what you're sharing and so on and so forth? Yeah.
Okay, so I'll start with numbers because that's the easiest one for me to think of. My 2024 goal was, well, is still post 1,200 times on all platforms. It
In the year.
was
Yeah.
in the year, yeah. And
Yeah,
I
sure.
right now I'm on route to do almost triple that, so
Oh wow.
we're pretty good.
Sure.
My goal for so on December 29th, I had 645 followers. My goal for 2024 was to hit 10,000. And we did that in the first hour of 2024,
Yeah, I noticed.
which was insane.
It literally
So I was
went
like,
on
okay.
like 2000. I remember exactly. I looked at your account and I was like, okay, cool. He's on 2000. I'm sure he'll do a podcast. Let's message, blah, blah, blah. Within 2 days, I checked again and it was like completely different. I was like, wow, man, like so dope. Yeah, yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, it was crazy. We hit that. So the first video blew up. I texted my editor and his name is Christian. I'm like, Christian, we need to go on, we need to step on the gas right now. Like this is the time.
Yeah.
And so we posted 45 times in the next 5 days.
Wow.
And have let off the gas a tiny bit. I'm down to like 6 a day, but we're pretty much staying on that pace.
Sure.
And then we had like 7 more super viral videos just in those 7 days. So the lesson I learned is that if you're having a moment, like quadruple down, because it probably won't be the only one, but you're gonna regret the hell out of it if you don't, and it is.
Yeah, that the same thing that happened when my video was going. I had a few. There's some hit like couple 100,000 views and likes and so on and so forth. For a while it hit like a peak, and at that point in time I buckled down. I was like, I was doing 3 videos a day. I wasn't doing as much as 6 or 45 in like a few hours. It was too much for me, like because I work a normal job as well and stuff like
Yeah, yeah,
and
absolutely.
so I was just doubling. I just kept steady with 3 a day, 3 a day, 3 a day, and then
Yeah.
eventually it hit like this plateau where then I started getting like 100 views again, and I was just like, oh, okay. So I don't know what to do now because 3 a day
Yeah.
isn't working anymore. So now I switched my plan up a little bit, and trying something different. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you just gotta not quit and then it'll work eventually,
exactly. Yeah, exactly. So you're on
Okay.
TikTok
Yeah.
as well, right? You're on TikTok.
Yeah.
And
It's just the same.
the same amount of followers or
No,
no?
I have 1,000 on TikTok.
The
Way
1,000.
less.
It's so weird, right? One
Yeah.
platform can be like super like big, and then the other platform
Yeah.
is just like eh.
Yeah. Yeah. My goals for this year, I want to figure out TikTok and Snapchat and double down on Instagram. And then I would say once I have those some level of understanding on those platforms, then I'm really gonna focus on YouTube. But that's the current plan. We'll see how it goes. But as for that's my numbers goal. I would say what I ultimately want my content to be. I honestly this is gonna sound egotistical and I don't mean it to be. I'm doing what I can to live like an exciting life. Like I want to have a lot of good stories. And I just want to be able to have that documented. Like I want to have a sick life and I want to have proof.
Sure. So what is your idea of a sick life? Like what is your idea of having fun? Like where do you want to go? What do you want to do? Because there's this guy that I recently been following on YouTube. His name is Kurt Kaz or something like that. I don't know if you've seen him. He's a South African, same as me. But he travels to like all these countries, and he goes into like the most dangerous areas, bro. And he's doing it by himself. He's not going with any sort of backup, no guns, no nothing. And he's going into like Brazil, into the favelas where they have like AK-47 like meetups every single day and they're shooting each other. And he's going into the most dangerous gangster driven parts. And, you know, and to some extent it could be seen as fun, like he's really living on the edge, but it's really
Uh-huh.
getting him like views. You know, he's got like 2 million followers because he's really
Wow.
putting himself in a space of like risk. But his reasoning behind it, or at least this is what he says, is that he's trying to show that these people are still just people at the end of the day. Even if
Yeah.
they're like, this place is full of gangsterism and stuff, there's still a culture in these places, which is actually really nice to see. Because he'll go in there and he'll eat at a restaurant in the middle of like this really dangerous area, and he's the only white guy for like ever, to have gone in
Uh-huh.
there. Not even the police go into some of these places, and he's just
Uh-huh.
sitting there chilling at a restaurant eating, and he's like, see, it's just normal people. And it's really great at the end of the day. I really like it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
what is your idea of like fun? What is your idea of excitement? What is your idea, yeah, for these things?
I would say um fun is like, and I guess excitement and like fulfillment would just be doing what I want as much as I want with the people I want. So
Hmm.
um yeah, generally that's probably gonna mean whoever my closest like one or two or three friends are, and then whoever my wife at the time is. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I think in the past when I've been doing that, when it's just been like me and like one of my very close friends and like me just doing what I want, that has been the most fulfilling my life has been. And right now that's making content, and it will probably stay making content for a long time. Um, but honestly, I'm not really sure. I mean, I I've thought that far out in terms of how big my goals need to be and how much time it's going to take for them.
Hmm.
But it's more like like the reasoning is more I just like I don't want to be broke.
Hmm.
And yeah, I don't know. It's
You'd
it's less
often, it's funny, you'd often
Mhm.
find that the people who tend to give more tend to get more. So I don't
Mhm.
think that's ever something you need to like be concerned about. But you do, like, in my opinion, there is a necessity for like a plan. Have a plan
Mhm.
that you can filter things through, even though like the idea behind getting so many followers isn't to have them there for the money, but you can, use them to support what you're doing. Not use them, but ask them for support. So this is
Mhm.
what one guy, I forget his name. He's a very big on social media as well, but that's what he was saying. It's like social media isn't going to make you money, but your supporters, your followers can assist you in what you're doing. So you can create systems where you can get donations for what you're doing so that you can keep on doing what you're doing. And then it's basically like a job in a sense. You create a
Mhm.
system that works for you and for your followers and your supporters, because at the end of the day, giving is great. I don't I see the benefit in it, and I also try to align myself to give as much as I can where I can, even though I fall short. I mean, in a lot of places. But at the end of the day, if we're thinking about the balance of life, there also needs to be like not needs to be, but essentially there's always a give and a take. So you
Mhm.
give, and then eventually there's also a time where you may think about, okay, so what can I get back as well? I've given a lot, so how can I get back in like a healthy, substantial way, so I can give more.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know if I do totally agree that people who give more get more, but I don't know if that's really something I need. I mean, I'm sure that could absolutely change at some point.
Mm.
Um, but I see, I don't know, because I mean, although I've like stopped trying to be a second rate version of Hormozy, it's definitely like I see the impact he's had on the world.
Mm.
And I think a big part of it is that he will never ask, like he just gives and gives and gives and gives. Um,
But
and
but it's not like he's asking, but he does have things where he makes money, right? So he
oh
has
yeah,
things
absolutely. Yeah,
where,
yeah, yeah. I
yeah,
can't
yeah,
go no
yeah.
money for the rest of my life.
Yeah,
That's not
yeah,
gonna work.
yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah. So his premise is to give. Like every rich person out there, at some point they've realized that giving is where it's at.
Mhm.
That's where is at. And then they have things where if you want to give back, you're more than welcome. So here's the system. Not that I'm going to ask
Mm-hmm.
for it, but if you want to give back, there is a system for it, because ultimately that's the natural flow of things. Like the flow of nature is that a tree will grow and bear fruit for someone to eat, and then the people or the animals die, and that gives back to the soil to give back to the tree. So it is ultimately the natural flow of the way things work. So
Mm-hmm.
giving is definitely there, like it needs to be there. And then also receiving is also very beneficial at the end of it, being open to that and having a plan for that. How can I receive in a healthy way that's not like being greedy? Because a lot of people out
Mm-hmm.
there are trying to be greedy with what they're doing. They're like, I'm doing this so I can get something. That's the motto, you know. Even though it
Yeah.
comes across as giving, their intention is to get, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where the distortion comes in on like an energetic level. The sincerity isn't there. Like where
Mm-hmm.
someone like you, there's sincerity, like your idea is not to get. But if someone says, hey man, I want to give, then you'd be like, okay, but do you have like a plan for it? That's the question. So it's good to be prepared. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, absolutely.
yeah, yeah.
I do not have a plan for it. I mean, I think this is probably the only thing I'll say yes to, like more collaboration opportunities.
Mm,
I don't really see myself saying yes to any like deals or smaller like business partnerships or anything until long in the future.
mm,
But I don't know. I mean, this is getting enough for me. I mean, more platforms. I mean, I didn't realize it, but I have found it. I think the thing that I find the most fulfilling is actually on my first post that blew up. This guy commented and he was like, "Oh my God, I think this video just healed me." And I was like, "That's so awesome." I responded to his comment. Then he laid out his whole story. And then we were texting, and it turns out he was like an ex-drug addict and he had like a super challenging life. And he's like clean for a while. And he's starting to turn his life around. And he said like seeing that video completely like set him on the track he wants to be on. Um,
What was
and
the
that
video,
was
if I may ask?
it was the um I think a lot of times we idealize other people, but
Mm,
realistically, they're just going through the same shit we are. We're not in their
mm,
heads, so we don't see it. But everybody has shit. Everybody doesn't have their shit together. Was like the idea of the video.
mm.
Um, and I don't know, that alone was like, okay, I want more of these. Like more people telling me that. So I don't know. That might be, yeah. I don't know, I'm not going to try to analyze it, but um,
Yeah, no, no. I mean, it's cool. It's cool. It's cool to have like a desired outcome or desired effect
mhm,
that you want. I mean, because that's ultimately, I mean, it's okay to be a human, right? It's okay to be
yeah,
faulty, and it's okay to, it's like we don't have to be perfect. I think that's why I like your content, is because you're not trying to be someone you're not, you know?
mhm,
So I guess I'm just reminding you that, it's okay to be a human, and even to make content about that. Like I'm thinking now to make content about my own ego, and talking
mhm,
about the processes I go through, because people can relate to that stuff. Like when I open up and I really talk about my own struggles, that's the time that I found people to connect to me more sincerely, and that's the time I've made more connection, is when I'm real about who I am. Even
mhm.
the things that are hard to talk about, even those moments where I'm like, I will never tell anybody this.
Yeah.
I mean, not that I need to tell everybody that, but those are the
Mhm.
things that I think that a lot of people go through, but no one talks about. So those are
Yeah.
interesting points of conversation to actually share and talk about, at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually think that really contributes to the like it's not possible for me fallacy. Um, because
What
I
do you mean?
think like I'm sure you've heard people say that you can't go and become an like you can't go and blow up on social media. You have to like people it's very easy to make excuses and say that people who are successful have something different than you do.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's X reason why you're a special snowflake, why you can't blow up.
Yeah, yeah, sure.
And it's easy to say that. And I think one of the things that validates that is that, especially on social media now, people just don't talk about their failures.
Mm,
And a lot of the big voices we hear and we see do not talk about their failures.
mm,
And so, because we only see the good, that's all we have to form the opinion around, especially for like my generation, the generation younger than me. Um, like we've all grown up with social media,
mm,
and so we don't have like I'll tell a story. I was talking with a college professor, one of my college professors from when I was in college, and his wife, and she was talking about social media, and she basically said people in my generation, like mine, don't have the filter to be like, oh, that picture's fake. Oh, you don't actually look like that. Oh, you might like it's probably perfect lighting and it took 100 tries, but you don't look like that every day. Um, and then she's like, but I mean, my generation, this is talking in her point of view, she was 50. Um, she sees like the pictures like that, and she's like, oh, that's totally edited. Your hips don't look like that. Your face doesn't look like that. Blah blah blah. And I don't know. I think one of the worst effects of, and I don't think social media is bad. I just think it is, but one of the worst effects of social media is definitely the fact that so many people now have been raised with it.
Mm,
So we don't our perception of real and like natural is so skewed.
mm.
I mean, it's the same effect as porn, just not for sex.
Yeah, it's like another version of, yeah, yeah, exactly. I like what you said. It's like less sexual porn. But it's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's like that's what porn's doing, right? It's like completely go, here's what sex is and here's what porn is, trying to make
Yeah.
it into. And that's what social media is.
Hmm.
Here's what humans are, and then here's what social media is making them into, like these perfect uh every moment is good in my life type of people. And that's not true. And I think that, again, coming back to your content, is seeing that, and that's where that's relatable. It's relatable content, and that's what people want. Is people think they want to see everybody having a good time all the time, but then actually, I mean, for myself, I get depressed when I see that, because I'm like, I'm not having a good time all the time.
Uh-huh.
How come this person's having a good time all the time? And and it's like that makes me feel like, it makes me feel worse. And like, why did I even subscribe to this guy's channel? Like, this guy's just making me feel not good about myself. But
Yeah.
where someone like you, or someone who's being really authentic, it's like you're just talking about all of it. And the cool thing is, you're like doing your laundry while you're talking about it. Or you're in your
Yeah.
kitchen busy preparing your breakfast, and you're talking about this experience you had while you're on a date. And it's just interesting. It's cool.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I'm going for. Um, I don't know. I also think it's Gary Vee says document, don't create,
Mm,
for content.
mm,
And whatever you think about Gary Vee, that's
mm.
kind of more directed at the audience, but I don't, whatever.
I like it.
He's
Document, don't create. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, yeah, I'm a big fan. So instead of like going and doing a bunch of research just to make a video, just make a video on who you actually are.
And talk about
Because
where you're at.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And the other reason I think that's so good is because like if at any point you have an event or you have a meet and greet or whatever, and you meet people who like follow you and you're completely different than you are in the videos, that's where never meet your heroes comes from. Like
Mm,
because people are putting on facades, you
mm.
know? Like it's fucked. But if you're just you act exactly the same in the videos as you act in real life, people are going to be so much happier, and it's going to be a way more real connection
I think there's like a
for them
double,
at least.
double, two sides to that coin. I think what's really nice is
Mhm.
if you meet your hero, but they're not who you expect them to be, in the sense of they're actually more human than you thought they were.
Uh-huh.
That is really good. But there's like a positive, there's like a positive connotation to it. So you don't see them being like, they don't come across as inauthentic, but they're just really authentic. Like, they really meet you with like they take their crown off, because they're no longer
Uh-huh.
like the social media god or whatever, super famous, but they're just a human, and they're really like humble, and they connect with you. And that to me is like, that's a win. That's good.
Yeah.
Because if someone can do that, they can be super famous, but remember like their like humility, then
Mhm.
to me that's like great, because that means the fame hasn't gotten to their head. It's like Mike
Mhm.
Tyson said on one of his videos, and it's always stuck in my mind, is that at some point he realized through his career that being a boxing champion isn't ultimately who he wanted to be. He had to remind himself to still go chill with people, because you have to take that facade away from yourself sometimes. Otherwise, you can get very lonely, very isolated, because you think that you're up here when you're really not.
Yeah.
And you still need to connect with. We're not special. That's the thing. We're not, just because we're doing lots of things and a lot of people know us and see us, it doesn't make us special. And we have to realize that. I know I have to tell myself that as well, because I've been building my following for a long time, and stuff like that. And I've definitely noticed how people have started to see me differently. And I've started to see myself differently. And I've had to remind myself to not let that get to my head, because it does it quickly, it does. Fame does, no matter
Oh yeah.
how much you want it not to. It does. It will in small ways. I mean,
No, it happens
maybe
immediately. It literally happens
you
immediately.
can talk about it a little bit, like your experience of going from the 2,000 followers to like 50K, and how your
Mhm.
mindset has shifted a little bit. Yeah, but I noticed in myself that I've shifted, even though my following is not as big as yours, but I've noticed the difference, and I have to remind myself, hey, you're still just a human, bro.
Yeah.
Just be a human. Don't think you're all this, because, at the end of my life, I'll be thinking back and laugh at myself, because I'll be like, look how big I thought I was, when really I was just this little.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. So, well, I mean, I'm personally a big believer in nothing's as important as you think it is. Like
Mm,
there's a John Maxwell quote, which is you can't overestimate the unimportance of practically everything.
mm. I like it.
Which
Mm,
I honestly live by. I think
mm,
that's honestly my anthem.
mm,
Um, and but I will say it was tough because when I blew up and when it was happening, I was like, I all the DMs told me it was imposter syndrome, so I'm just gonna guess it was imposter syndrome. I don't really know. But it was a crazy feeling. I was like, my main worry was like, none of my content that I'm ever gonna put out is gonna live up to what just happened. Like the content I make from now on is not gonna be 50,000 followers, like valued content. Like there's no way it's gonna be that good. And I don't know, it's probably because I was at like 600 for so long.
mm.
That because it happened so fast, I was like I still had 600 brain. And I would say I still probably do to a degree now because it's actually made me go a lot harder on the content quality. Um, as for my ego, it's probably negatively affected it. I mean, it's very hard for it not to at some degree. Um,
So maybe
mhm.
how do you keep yourself grounded? What is when you
Mm.
notice things, do you like have something that you do that reminds yourself, like, hey, dude, just chill?
It would probably be to work out. It's just exercise. For
Mm,
the last 6 days, I haven't had a gym membership because we didn't know where we were going to be living in LA. So I was like, I was not gonna get a gym membership and then have to cancel it. Um, so it's been kind of a brutal time not to be able to work out. And I was doing like push-ups and pull-ups and regular shit.
mm,
But I'd say that's probably one way to keep myself grounded. And honestly, one thing that actually has really helped is posting the failures and posting the like I blew up and it feels terrible videos
mm,
and stuff like that. Because I think it reminds me that I'm human because when I put that out there, it takes I don't know, it usually takes I have to convince myself to do it. I have to be like 3, 2, 1, okay, just post it before you chicken out. Um, and I don't know, it's easier for me to take myself less seriously, in my opinion,
mm.
when I post me like really going through a struggle online, you know. And I don't know if that's good or bad or healthy or unhealthy. Probably some to some degree unhealthy, posting your struggles to thousands of people. But
Yeah,
you
that's
know,
immediately what I was thinking, is that
yeah.
that's not something I would do. I mean, it
Mhm.
depends on if it's something I guess you would have to figure out for yourself, but I would post something where I've gone through it and I've learned the lesson, and then I talk about the process of. you know, but I won't
Mhm.
talk about something I'm immediately going through, because that to me
Mhm.
is a bit, yeah, I wouldn't do that. That's to me, I would keep that for my like close people in my life, and I'll explain to them. And then like I made a post recently where I was talking about a breakup I went through, but this happened like 10 years ago. And I was just talking about my thought processes, which I still actually want to do a follow-up video on. But a lot of people started commenting or giving me feedback, because I post on different platforms. So over the different platforms, I saw a lot of people giving me like a good response towards it. But I would never have posted about it as I was going through it. That's just maybe me, you know. I don't know, maybe
Mhm.
I'm just not that vulnerable in that sense. But yeah, that's just how I would do something like that, you know.
No, absolutely. That is
Yeah.
completely valid. I'm surprised I have and will probably continue. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
I guess
also
you
like,
live and you learn. I mean, through the process of
yeah,
doing it, you know, you live and you like that may have been something that people can relate to, but did I need to do it at that point in my life? Maybe not, maybe yes, I
yeah,
don't know, you know. Yeah. I think that's the cool
yeah.
thing about it, is that as you go and grow through it, or at least from my experience, is that you see you learn from it, you know, you learn through the experience of doing it. And yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. That's a
Yeah,
good
I know.
thing
It's
about it.
also like one of the main worries from that is like I don't want to be branded as the sad guy because that's just not me,
Mm,
like at all. And I'm doing it because like literally just because I think it's interesting.
mm,
Um, it's like it's not at all to get sympathy, which I have to put disclaimers for because it's people are like, "Oh, I'm sorry," and I'm like, "I don't care. Like
mm.
I'm not sad. I'm like it's pain, but I'm not like sad that it's pain. It's just like it's literally part of
But
life."
even if it is pain, it's like it's okay, because I mean, I'm pretty sure I can relate to the experience you have. Like I relate to the experience of losing a lot of friends. Like I used to have
Mhm.
high school friends that I was heavily connected to. We would do everything together. Where before school we would chill, we would smoke a lot of weed. In school we would probably sometimes we would chill together and sometimes smoke weed. After school we would smoke a lot of weed together, but not even just that, we would just do everything together. There was like a group of us of
Mhm.
like 6 or 7 of us that would just do everything together. And then when I started changing and growing, I started losing those connections, you know. There's 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 only like maybe 2 or 3 of them that I still stay in contact with, that I um that you know yeah, I don't know, I'm because they're still a good friend of mine, you know. But it's not that
Mhm.
I share my everyday struggles with them like I used to, you know. I have other people for that now, because you know I've grown and changed so much that I just don't feel that I just need newer people to experience these things that I'm going through right now with, you know. And so I've lost a lot
Yeah.
of friends, and it's been really hard in some senses, because, you know, I even tried to rekindle some of those connections, and um, I just realized that that's not where it's at anymore, you know. And so
Yeah.
yeah, so stuff like that, like it's very relatable, man. Even if it is sad, I
Mhm.
wouldn't, you know, I wouldn't feel bad about, if I was you, I wouldn't feel
Mhm.
bad about posting stuff like that, because you know, people in today's day and age, they need something real. Like if you're just um like Alex Hormozy, but like the Alex Hormozy on steroids, where you're just posting all the superficial stuff, then you know it's, again, it's not very relatable. How do people connect to that? It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, they can't. Actually, one of my this is well, kind of on topic. One of the biggest things I learned from all the videos of mine that have blown up, the pretty much the one thing they have in common besides like me, is and actually, like you can see this in every big creator. Like you can look at Sam Sulek, you can look at Alex Hormozy, like Joshua Weissman. I don't know if you know him or like he's a cook. He's American cooking content. Um,
He's
what's
not that
Emma
big ginger
Chamberlain?
guy, right? The big
Yeah,
ginger,
yeah, yeah,
that guy
yeah.
with the
I
list.
think so. Oh no, 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 no. I thought you
Uh,
meant ginger as the ingredient. No, not that guy. No.
No, he's ginger himself.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, not him. He's got glasses. He's got long hair. Um,
Anyway, yeah.
anyway, they're all excellent at making people feel understood.
Mm,
Like that's literally the whole game. It's like how good can you make people feel like you understand them while not talking directly to like not talking one on one to them.
mm,
Um, it's very difficult, but literally like when you nail that and you tell a story and you have a good hook and the idea of your video is good and there's a good like reward at the end, viral.
Mm.
It's just really fucking hard to nail all those things. But once you do it, you're set.
And then you learn like the way that it's done. You learn like the feeling through the process, and then you just repeat that same sort of that process every single time, or at least, you know, every few videos, and then those videos just
Yeah.
build and build, build. Okay.
Yeah.
It's really
I actually have so I was looking at the differences in performance between videos that I scripted and videos that I just like freeballed and didn't script.
Hmm.
And of the last like 20 videos of each, scripted videos or unscripted videos, just freeball videos, got 80,000 views on average, and scripted videos got 800,000 views on average. And then the likes was 5 times more, the comments was 20 times more, the shares was 10 times more, and the saves was 20 times more
On the
for a scripted.
scripted.
So
Okay.
across the board, structure is better. And granted, if you're scripting it and you're terrible at scripting, that's probably not gonna like be that different. But if you script 300 videos, you'll probably learn what works and you'll get pretty good at scripting, you know. But anyway, that was just a very, very interesting observation for me. Like really prove that I need to just stick to the fucking script.
Yeah, and it's interesting because we were just saying in the beginning of the video, like being authentic is a real relatable thing. And then we're talking more about like bringing structure into it, you know. So being authentic isn't just about like free flowing all the time and just talking off the top of your head and just being in the moment, and that's really great. But it's also good to have that preparedness, that plan, you know. So that's why I guess that's why I was talking about, you know, what is your plan for what you're doing? Because having that plan when things, you know, go really well. It's like if you're not ready for $100,000 to come to you and you get that $100,000, you're gonna blow it on the most unnecessary things ever. But if you have like at least some sort of an idea of what you would do and where that money's gonna go, like where you're gonna direct it, then when you get it, you'll potentially even make more money than that because you've used that 100,000 wisely, you know? So that's where I guess that's where coming back to what we were saying is that's why I was asking about it, is because from my personal experience that I've gotten a few things where I wasn't ready for it and I just squandered it so terribly. It's like I fumbled the ball and I was like, damn, if only I could do it again, and I'll do it now more prepared, you know? So yeah, I appreciate spontaneity. I appreciate being in the moment and sharing things in the moment. But I also thoroughly appreciate, and it's something I also really need to work on, is just being more prepared for things, you know, at least having some ideas for what I want and how I'm going to work with it when it comes and so on and so forth. Because yeah, that makes a difference at the end of the day. And I think that anybody at the top level of, you know, that's really made it, they could probably say the same thing, or would probably say the same thing, you know.
Yeah. I will say I think it's like the thing that changed it. Because I used to be kind of anti-structure. I would just like be me, think of an idea and talk on that idea.
I agree. Yeah. Yeah.
And what changed it for me is it's when it stopped being about just making content and started being about helping the most people. And if I stick to the structure, I help more people because more people see my stuff and help in my definition. So that could be different from someone else's definition. Like I'm sure not everybody agrees with how I see the world, which is fine. But I don't know, that's when I started being way more okay scripting, because I'm like, okay, if it works better, more people see it, I can get the same points across, get the same personality across, but in a more effective way. For me, that was powerful enough to make me change it. For better or for worse, who knows? But
yeah, and I think that's something that has definitely been on in that I've seen through my own experiences, that also not being set on something being the only way that it can be done. So for instance, like after I had my mini like little spike where I jumped from 600 to 4K followers, I stuck with the plan at that point, bam, 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 because that's what worked, you know, and that's what was
Mhm.
working for a long time. Yeah, a lot of my videos were blowing up to like over 100K views and likes, you know. It's the main pinned videos that I have on my Instagram are the big ones. And
Mhm.
there was a whole bunch under that as well. And then I realized that at some point that it stopped working. You know, I just explained that. And then I was so like hard-handed about it, where I'm like, no, I need to stick to this because it worked in the past. I need to stick to this because that's what got me to where I am. And then I realized that I was exerting way more energy than necessary for something that wasn't working. It was like
Mhm.
investing in a relationship that wasn't good for me anymore, you know?
Yeah.
And that's where
Yeah.
now I've switched things around a little bit and trying something different, and I have so much more free time. Then it's like, whoo, because I was actually internally getting frustrated with myself that I was still doing the same thing and not getting the same results. You know, I wasn't the
Uh,
energy I was putting in wasn't like reflecting. Yeah, it was like I was overcompensating, and
yeah.
I needed to just be aware that just because I did something a certain way doesn't mean it has to be that way as I go forward. You know, it's perfectly okay to change things and shift things around as time goes, and to mold things in a different way, and to create different content for that time and phase in my life that I'm going through, and you know, to experiment with new things as well. I think that's the thing that I really appreciate about myself, is that I'm very open to experimenting with things and trying different things, because that's my strength, is I'm very okay with, as much as failing sucks, but I'm very okay with the process of doing it, you know. As much as I
Mhm.
really hate it, actually, I really hate failing, I'm okay with the
Mhm.
process of failing and hating it and doing it over and over again to find something that works. And then even if
Yeah.
that at some point doesn't work again, I'm okay with experimenting again and failing again to find something that works again, you know.
Mhm.
Yeah. Mm.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I personally believe you only need two strengths, and well, yeah, one of which is not being afraid to fail, and the other one is not quitting.
And not quitting. Yeah, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. The not quitting is seemingly the harder one. Failing is
Yeah.
easy, man. Like failing is super easy, but not quitting and failing at the same time, that's very hard, man. Like
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
super hard.
There's a stat that absolutely blew my mind when I started making content. And honestly, it's what started made me want to start making a podcast. Um, you've maybe heard it, but 90% of podcasts, all podcasts ever started, fail before the 10th episode.
Hmm.
50% fail before the third episode, but 90% fail before the 10th. Then of the 10% that remain, 90% of those fail before the 20th. So if you make 21 episodes, you are a 1% all-time podcaster,
Really?
which is
Oh,
just how easy it is to
give up.
like you don't even have to be good.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's not even that consistent. It's 21 episodes.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
takes a day to record, you
Sure.
know. So, it was just when I heard that, it honestly blew my mind. It's like, wow, it is
How many
not
episodes is your
hard.
podcast on now?
I think we just 60, 60 something.
60. Hey, well
Yeah.
done, man. 1%, bro.
Thank you.
You're above that now. Yeah, that's cool, man.
Yeah, just gotta, once a week, twice a week, and you're good.
And on your podcast, are you inviting people on, or you're just talking?
It's usually just me. It's just me doing whatever I'm already doing. If it's in the car, I'm usually rambling about whatever I think is interesting that day.
Oh, I see.
Um, and if it's a audio one, it'll usually be about a topic, but those are rarer,
And
but they
what is
happen.
your YouTube following on?
Uh, 800 subscribers, something like that.
Oh, I see. I see. Okay.
Yeah, so not huge. I need to figure out those platforms, but oh well.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I mean, obvious to me, but the obvious answer would be just to connect everything to your Instagram, right? So to, like with me, I have a LinkedIn link, and that LinkedIn link takes you to my TikTok, Facebook, YouTube. And then under
Mhm.
my videos, I always say, if you want to see the full podcast, like with the snippet. So with what I'm going to do with this podcast is that I'm going to
Mhm.
break it up into snippets, and I'll share snippets on Instagram, on TikTok, on Facebook, and I draw
Mhm.
that all into the YouTube channel,
Mhm.
because that's where the full video is going to be. But they'll see like little
Okay.
snippets of us talking and stuff like that. And then underneath, I'll say, if you want the full video, click the link in my bio, blah, 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 you know, so on and so forth. And
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the way I'm just trying to grow everything simultaneously, you know. It's just
Yeah,
linking it all
absolutely.
together.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
It may look like chaos because it's all like everything connected, but it's like organized chaos. It works, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you practice more times, you're gonna get better faster, even if you fail
Yeah.
more.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And that's the cool thing
Yeah.
about it again, is that the experience of going through it and doing it, and then you see like I do jujitsu, right? You know what jujitsu is?
Mhm.
It's like a
Yeah.
martial art. And the one thing
Mhm.
that stuck with me when my coach told us this once in practice is he says that the guy who goes for a jujitsu competition and he ends up winning from the beginning, he's oftentimes going to see heavy pitfalls in the future because he doesn't see his failures in the beginning. So he never works on his weaknesses. But the
Mhm.
guy who goes in and fails from the beginning and loses more, he's going to see where his failures are and his weaknesses are more, and then he's going to have the opportunity to work on those and get holistically stronger. So in the end, he's going to come out on top because the guy who just won from the beginning never worked on his weaknesses. So when someone comes and they attack those weaknesses in a match, he's going to have no defense for them. So it's the same in like everything. That's why I was relating it to everything. If you don't fail in the beginning, then and you make it big, then when something comes along and knocks you down, you're gonna stay down for a long time because you're like, damn, I never worked on that at all, bro. But if you fail in the beginning, then you holistically work on that, and then you holistically become stronger as you grow. And then when something comes along, like for unforeseen circumstance comes along, then you're like, boom, I already had something similar like that happen in the beginning. Now I'm stronger, so I can handle that a bit better, you know?
Yeah, I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's an
yeah, yeah.
excellent frame to look through life through.
Yeah, it's stuck with me
Through.
because I'm the type of person that bumps my head a lot. You know, I experiment,
Yeah.
bump, and I fail, and I'm just like, and I was like, damn, man, I feel like such a failure a lot of the time because I'm failing so much, you know? But then when he said that, it made a lot of sense to me, and I was like, okay, so I just got to keep going. It's like you're sort of, I'm learning, and I've learned to own the failure, you know, to make it a part of who I am, and be like, you know, it doesn't make me a failure. It actually is going to make me stronger, you know. And that's
Mhm.
ultimately what I want at the end of the day. You know, to
Yeah.
other people it may seem like I'm failing, and that's fine, but to me, I just take it and I'm like, I'm actually getting stronger here, because at some point things
Mhm.
are going to happen and it boom, you know, whatever is going to
Mhm.
happen is going to happen, you know. So yeah,
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 absolutely.
yeah, yeah. So there's
Awesome.
positives to
Mhm.
everything.
I agree. I agree. You either win or you learn.
Yeah, exactly. And reframing the things. Like I also I went through this phase of, you know, seeing the fact that I lost some friends as a negative thing. But then I started to reframe it, or I started to think about ideas of how I can reframe it. And I started to come up with better ways of thinking of things. And that's helped me a lot. Helped me to become more peaceful in myself, because I could either let it make me feel sad, or I could use it as an opportunity to expand on what I'm doing and grow and try something different, and you know
Mhm.
create something different for myself, because I don't want to be sad my whole life. I mean, I'm sure you don't
Yeah.
want to be sad your whole life, even though sadness is there, but I don't want to let the external circumstances of my life dictate my feelings, you know? I want to
Yeah,
be
absolutely.
in control to a certain extent, and
Mhm.
you know, and use it to propel me forward, as opposed to being, oh, sad little me, you know, pitiful me, self-pity, you know. Yeah, it's an easy trap to fall into.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, definitely.
yeah.
Excellent. I am exhausted, so
Yeah, I can tell,
I
man.
should definitely go to bed. Thank you.
No, that's okay,
Sorry.
man. It's okay, man. I appreciate
Uh,
your time. Thank you for
no,
taking
that was
to do
awesome.
this
Thank
thing.
you so much for having me, Devin. That was
Sure, man.
that was terrific.
Yeah. I'll see you soon, man. Sure.
Yeah, absolutely. That was absolutely awesome. Thank you so much, dude.
Great, man.
Peace out.
Sure.